Hi, and welcome to Silent No Longer. I'm Misha, and I'm so glad you're here. The podcast is a safe, judgment free space for healing, hope, and honest conversation for anyone who's been through toxic or abusive relationships. I know firsthand how it feels to feel trapped, unheard, and unseen. I lived through years of toxic relationships, financial struggles, and spiritual battles, but through faith and healing, I found freedom. And my purpose now is to help others find the same. On this podcast, we'll share stories of resiliency, transformation, and faith. I'll share my own journey, and we'll also hear from guests who have walked similar paths. My goal is to remind you that you are not alone, that healing is possible, and that your past does not define your future. If this resonates with you, I encourage you to check out my book, Behind Closed Doors, where I share my story in depth. And if you feel ready, I offer one-on-one coaching to walk with you through your healing journey. And thank you for joining me today. I'm honored to be part of your journey, and I can't wait to walk through this season of healing, hope, and breakthrough with you. Welcome to Silent No Longer, where the past is a chapter and not the whole book. In this episode, we'll talk about the process of rediscovering peace and learning to love again and breaking free from the cycles of pain. I always knew that I could do things on my own, but always just wanted a man there to be with me to help me. And I told my kids, I'm like, these are the characteristics you do not want in a guy. And if I start seeing that in somebody that they're talking to or even just friends with, I'm like, look, that person is you're able to make your own choices, but I'm telling you, if you keep hanging out with that person or being with that person, it's gonna be a rough road. So it's ultimately your choice because I have learned over the years, you know, educate them. Don't just try to sever it because it's not gonna work. I really try to instill in my kids to have self-love for themselves and make sure the other person has self-love in them and respect for them. Because if they do not respect them, it's not going to be a healthy relationship. And for them to notice the difference between trauma bond and just that somebody loves you. But it's so hard to explain that to somebody when you've lived through it, you know what it means, but you don't know how to explain it. And explain it in a way that's not gonna come across to, "Well, I've just lived this, so you need to listen to me." And with kids, especially when it's your parents talking to you, I didn't really have a childhood. I had my oldest, I wanted to get pregnant, not so much because I wanted to stay in the relationship and I thought it would work better, but just because I didn't wanna be alone. And I knew that if he left me, I would still have somebody because I felt like I had nobody. And that was just all the wrong reasons. My thoughts are always, "What can I do?" I don't even really know, like, what can I do to stay alive, I guess, is what my entire life was. Yeah, because growing up, I always told people that if I never went and lived with my aunt and uncle, I would've probably been dead in an alley somewhere because that's how bad my life was when I was a kid, and it was I seen so much stuff, and if I wouldn't have gotten out of there and been probably placed with my aunt and uncle when I got taken away from my mom, I probably wouldn't have seen what, healthy parents, I guess, were because I spent almost a whole year with them, and, I mean, they did everything right, and I said, "Okay, well, this is the type of mom I wanna be when I get older." So it's like a good situation that came out of I guess, a bad situation, but for the best. I was definitely honest with my kids all the time. I mean, when I broke up with their dad, they were little. I mean, I'm sure the older 2 might remember, but the younger 2 don't remember anything about it. But I was just always honest with them. And the second time around, they're all teenagers now. I've been divorced for a little over a year now. I was a mess afterwards. I didn't realize how much of a mess, but looking back, I was a mess. But I just told them that I don't know, told him, like, "I'm going through it. Give me some grace." Yeah, and I was in my bed for a long time, and I don't think people realize how hard it is to have somebody in your life that you're so close to, and then you have no relationship at all, don't talk to one another at all. I feel like it's worse than being alive than, grieving somebody who's passed away because you know that person is still there. You know that you could reach out to them, they could reach out to you, and I just feel it's just a whole separate emotions than knowing that somebody passed away and you're never gonna see them again. And I always tell people, like, your feelings are valid on how you're feeling. Don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't be feeling that way because it's a very hard thing to go through. I envisioned my whole entire future in front of me, and I think that's when everything fell apart for me was when I knew that whole picture perfect life that I had envisioned since I was a little girl to get through every single day of my life wasn't going to happen is when everything just fell apart for me. And I had to, and facing that reality on top of everything else that's reality to you that you didn't see at first, it's hard. I feel like if the right guy came along, they would respect all your goals and dreams in life, and they'd be there to support you and encourage you and not tear you down. And when you've been in so many bad relationships, you're used to the tear down part. I mean, I've worked so hard on building so much for myself in a short amount of time since my divorce. And I am just, I mean, I do get scared that somebody might come in and just want to tear it all out from underneath me because I've worked so hard. But also, I feel like I've done so much healing that now if one little thing rubs me wrong, I'm just like, I don't try to give people many chances. Maybe that's a bad thing on its own. It's a healing journey, right? Where's the happy medium in this? I just pray about it. I have learned that when I start talking to somebody, I pray to God and I say, hey, I like this person. What is your take on this? If you do not want me with this person, please take them out of my life. And boy, does he take them out hard and fast. And I'm just left like, what? No, 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 I'm not ready. It just takes a couple times because I never listened the first time, but God was always a strong point in my healing journey. I've heard that when your person comes into your life, or whatever you want to say, they'll help you heal too. It wasn't about me. I had to take us out of things and wonder, where do these feelings come from? Like today, I had this huge breakthrough. I'm a big financial person, and I can never figure out why I have always had to be not really in charge, but like the one paying the bills, knowing where the money goes, just part of the finances. And once that gets taken away from me, I freak out. And I couldn't figure out why it was like that. I mean, I knew I grew up with nothing, but I was like, it has to be more than that. Well, I remember this one time, my mom gave me $100 for my birthday, a $100 bill. And I had her boyfriend hold on to it in his wallet. And that way, if we went to the store, he had it. $100 is a lot. I was only, goodness, how old was I? 7, 8 maybe? I think I was, like, in 3rd grade. Well, I went to go spend it one day, and he said he didn't have it, and I can remember being this little tiny girl running up the apartment stairs after him, screaming and yelling at him, saying, "How does it make you feel spending, or stealing $100 from a little girl for drugs?" And I was just so upset, and I got thinking about that I don't even know where it even came from, and I'm like, that's probably where that stems from, because now I don't want nobody having anything to do with my money, and I don't just like little things just come out of nowhere that will help you heal in your journey, and so pay attention to the little tiny triggers and things that come to mind. There's a reason it's coming to your mind. I've gone through so many times of just getting myself so financially set and going after all these big goals that I've dreamed about all my life, and it just get ripped out from underneath me. And it's hard having to start over every single time. And I know so many people are so scared to leaving the relationship because they don't think that they can do it on their own, but I'm here to tell you, I've done it twice. And technically 3 times if you wanna talk about the time when I moved out of my home, well, pretty much got kicked out when I was 18. I mean, I was on my own. I mean, you can do it. It's hard, but you can do it. I didn't have any help. I did it all on my own. I didn't have any support from a nobody, so I can't imagine having a mom I'm really close to. But I make sure I give my kids that opportunity, whether or not they wanna be close to me or not, that's their choice. Ones are pretty close to me too. I mean, they still crawl in my bed and lay on me when they want to. But yeah, my kids are definitely my world. I was thinking the other day, trying to think about my kids' dad and my relationship, and I barely remember any of it. I mean, I remember bits and pieces of it, but now that I'm, healing, I don't remember much because I just remember bits and pieces, and I sit here and think, dang, how did I stay in that so long? But then I have to remember I grew up in that same atmosphere. So to me, it was just a normal day. I prayed for 7 years that our marriage would be fixed, but honestly, don't think we should have really been together to begin with. I almost called the whole thing off before, like 2 months before we got married, but I just said it was stress, but there was always an excuse, and I gave myself on why things were the way that they were. But, yeah, I prayed and prayed and prayed, and I would talk to people at church, and they're like, "Well, just keep praying." But I feel like sometimes God just doesn't want you with somebody. He wants somebody to treat us the way that he would treat us, and he loves us. And that's what I always pray, that God would send somebody in my life when he's ready on his time, because I'm gonna let it be his time this time, that that person will love me like God loves me. The culture is just so different from when we were kids. Like in the 90s, guys would come up and be like, "Hey, will you go out with me? You go on a date with me?" Definitely need to heal. I used to jump from relationship to relationship, but that's because I don't know why. I wanna say I used to know why, but I couldn't tell you why now. Because I have, like, a whole 'nother take on it, I don't know. I think mine was I wanted to feel wanted, but none of these people wanted me, ever. But I think that stemmed back to my mom. I didn't think she wanted me or didn't want anything to do with me. But I always tell people with their healing journey, like, if they didn't have a good upbringing and they had a, rough relationship with their parents, or their parents were just going through it, you need to realize that there's no book on what to do in life. And our parents were going through their own set of things that they were going through and trying to navigate. I had to realize that my mom was on her own journey and that I was just part of her story. And when I thought of it that way, I didn't take everything so personally anymore. And that was part of my healing journey of always needing to feel wanted, or I wasn't wanted if I didn't have somebody. Yeah. Have to give your parents some grace for sure, because they're always going through their own things, and I don't know, but my mom's doing a lot better now, and I'm doing a lot better. I mean, we don't have the best of relationship, and we talk once in a while, but, it's not close, close, but it's better than it was because we didn't talk to each other for 6 years. Just have to give people grace in life. You never know what they're going through, and that's with anybody, even walking down the street. People would be like, "I'm so proud of you," and I would look at them and be like, "For what? What did I do? I don't know what I did." So, yeah, definitely be proud of yourself, or proud of any accomplishments. Make goals for yourself. Dream big. When I was first starting to heal, I would have so many negative thoughts in my brain. It was so overwhelming, and I would just lay in bed for a couple of days, and I just tell people, "Just lay there, and every negative thing that comes to your mind, switch it to a positive." And find a good friend that you can call when you're feeling down. At least talk, or, just go out and do something, have a little bit of fun. Get out of your head, basically. I feel like the enemy is gonna try to keep you down. It definitely gets better though. For me, it's not days anymore. It's just maybe a day of feeling like you're in a funk, but I just get up and do things. Do something you enjoy doing. Finding that one thing that you really enjoy doing, and do that every single time that you feel like you're down or sad, or just all the negative thoughts. Most definitely find something you love to do. It may be hard at first, especially if you're not used to doing anything on your own. I never knew. I was hanging out with somebody and they'd be like, "What do you like to eat?" Huh, good question. What do I like to eat? Because we always went wherever the other person wanted to go and eat whatever they wanted to eat. So I had no clue. I went on a spree where I was just take me someplace and order my food for me so I can try something new. I just want to see if I like it. I found some foods I just do not like Indian food. No, thank you. Cannot eat that. But yes, and then I would have people ask me, "What's your favorite color? What kinda decorations do you like in your house?" And I don't know. It's just weird because you just never think of any of that. That's not something that and people just don't understand that when you're in the situation and you're in fight and flight all the time just trying to survive, you don't think about normal things. You're trying to survive and you're trying to keep your kids alive in the peace, even though the peace doesn't normally happen, but those are the things that you're trying to do. So, yeah, learning what you like is very important. What music It took me 40 years to figure out what music I liked. I remember when my husband and I got a divorce and I started listening to music on the radio, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I know what type of music I like." It was the most exciting day of my life. I never knew. Mine was knowing that I could reach my goals. That's been something I've really realized, especially lately, because I've met so many of my goals so quickly. In my entire life, I've always had people tell me, "You can't do that. Oh, you're just gonna fail at that." And so seeing I can do it. It wasn't me. Definitely find people who are going to lift you up and build your self worth up and believe in you. And if anybody doesn't, kick them out of your life because they're not there for you. Yeah. Those are some pointers that I can get. Story is raw, honest, and full of hope. A reminder that healing is possible and peace is something we can all find when we give ourselves permission to truly heal. If today's episode that spoke to your heart, don't forget to follow the podcast so you never miss a new story of healing and hope. Share this episode with someone who needs a reminder that they're not alone because you never know in someone's life it might touch. If you're ready to take the next step in your own healing journey, I invite you to check out my free quiz to see if you might be in a toxic relationship. It's a powerful first step toward clarity and freedom, and you can schedule a free clarity call with me if you're ready to break chains, release bondages, overcome limited beliefs, and build confidence and self worth. And don't forget to grab a copy of my book, Behind Closed Doors, where I share my own story of surviving domestic abuse, finding healing, and learning to trust God through it all. And thank you for turning into Silent No Longer. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and keep trusting in God's plan for you.